Are we looking dazed?
We're all worn out.
It does.
Yeah, makes you appreciate people that work in the hot sun all day long, every day. It's like, it's a little bit of, little something to do that. The opening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So they're, fourth at 3. Yes.
Well, it's from center packet, so I'm just following the schedule. Just didn't know if we were.
900 Thursday. Okay.
Yeah, it's like it's the opening.
Yeah. Shifts on Friday and Saturday.
Your Liberty Week. Caught a bit of the Mariners. I was picking up with their fair. We were down 2-0 on Raleigh here.
So Nancy's been,
How do I
Yeah,
do
man.
that?
To that. It's 2-2. I see they've added another run. They did? Oh, good, good. I see that. Good shit, they did. I'm going to the game next Tuesday.
Session.
So,
Yeah, it was one of the games I was at. He hit one. It was-
I'm glad. I've been wanting to hit one. He's in a slump.
Kind of goes up and down.
Pitching.
I'm gonna go see an SEC football game.
Who's playing?
Mississippi. He looks.
All right. They take these games pretty seriously.
Yeah, they do. Big deal. Big deal.
It's like the high school stadiums in like suburbs of Texas are like 21,000 seats or something. It's crazy. Sure.
Friday Night Lights, huh?
Oh, that's good. Delano's like missing that part of Texas this time of year.
What's that part?
Friday Night Lights.
I do. I just missed the passion. What's a thing? You been down this south?
He's going to an SEC game.
I'm gonna go to Mizzou and Mississippi State in this
That's-
November.
That's gonna be amazing.
I've never been to an SEC football game.
Oh, it's serious.
A whole different world, I've heard.
Texas look.
I've been to the Apple Cup. That's about,
Well, that's pretty.
not about as rabid as you can get. Ready? Okay, welcome to the 6:00 study session for the Ellensburg City Council. And we are going to be discussing board and commission meeting recording. And there's normally an opportunity for public comment, and we'll begin with the staff report.
Good evening, council, city attorney Chris Horner. We are here to talk about board and commission meeting recordings. And the specific question is on the next slide. There we go. What are the costs and considerations of city council? We're going to start recording board and commission meetings. And this slide presentation is an attempt to walk through some of the considerations and some of the costs. There are a lot of different variables for council to consider when making these decisions, and some of these are our best estimates. And so I just would have you keep that in mind. There are some numbers and figures, and again, those are rough estimates just to help for discussion purposes. The overview of the conversation, we'll talk a little bit about our current process. We'll come through, talk through some considerations on the law, some changing in the law that are coming up in the next year. some staffing considerations, and some of the technology that may be involved with this discussion. Some estimated cost. We'll do a quick overview of what some other public agencies are doing, and then I'll turn it over for questions and discussion. So I thought this slide was one of the ones I thought was the most important of the slide presentation, and I thought it was important because there were two considerations that do a lot of driving of the cost. And one is virtual public comment allowed? And that impacts the software licensing we would need to allow for recording. Like the free Zoom doesn't have good mechanisms to control public participation. So you'd need to a paid license to mute public and only unmute when it was time for them to speak. The second consideration was what's the intended scope and production quality of the recording. You have audio only on one side of the spectrum. You can move towards audio and a stationary camera. And that picture was intended to be just like a person holding an iPhone. You can do a recording that way. And then on the very right of the screen, you've got Ellensburg City Council meetings. And I was surprised to learn there's actually a lot of behind the scenes effort that goes into making this city council meetings recorded. And talk about that a little bit on some of the upcoming slides. So the current process for city council meetings is there's a contract with ECTV to manage the live streaming and recording of the meetings. And so there's a person over at Hell Homes right now with the computer monitoring the video, helping I call it the production of the cameras and the software that goes into monitoring the cameras. We have this guy here, this owl camera, which is rotating kind of based on sound. And it does its best to kind of keep up with whoever's talking at the moment. Sometimes it doesn't get it quite right and it'll point directly at a blank ball. So we have other cameras that have different angles, like city council has one camera. There's another camera that's pointed at the podium here. There's another camera pointed at the audience. And so this owl camera can't pick up all those different angles. So we have different video cameras and ECTV helps manage those shots. ECTV can help pick which shot is the most relevant. So if the audience is just, the audience wouldn't be the most important part of a camera angle. It's whoever's speaking. Or is the camera supposed, like, what does the person on the TV actually see? Is it the city council when there's discussion? Is it the slides that should be presented on the TV? So that's the production piece of that. I was also learned that ECTV uploads the city council meetings to the local cable TV channel. I didn't realize we had a local cable TV channel, but we do, and the council meetings are uploaded to that. With our contract with ECTV, it does not manage Zoom. So that's why we have an IT person in the back who manages the Zoom content. IT creates a Zoom link, and members of the public who sign up can view the live stream via Zoom. And IT staff manages the audio and video participation by IT staff. So there are two different mechanisms going on at one time here. There's Zoom managed by IT, and then there's also this ECTV live streaming. And so those are separate things run by separate staff, and some of the ins and outs are of how that works are I don't quite know how Zoom and ECTV interact with each other, but so one of the videos gets uploaded to YouTube, and that's what ECTV does. They upload videos to YouTube. And one of the reasons that's important is this idea of closed captioning. So the videos that get uploaded to YouTube have a closed caption feature, which isn't perfect. It's automated closed captioning. Sometimes there are errors in the captioning that gets put on by YouTube. And there are limited staff who have access to YouTube. IT and the public information officer, Nicole Kraus, have that access to YouTube. Civic Clerk, our agenda system, automatically pulls the meeting video from the ECTV live stream. Video captioning is not available through Civic Clerk.
So that last bullet point, effectively, when the meeting terminates, makes it available through the web page, other than having to go to like through YouTube platform or something like that. Is that how the people access through Civic Clerk?
Right, it's through the ECT, maybe Heidi knows.
They
Beth.
they upload it. When I'm doing the minutes, I can timestamp everything. So when it goes onto our website, it pulls from the ECTV feed and has all the timestamps on it.
Website-based access point, and then people potentially also have YouTube in addition to the cable channel and whatever. So there's
Correct.
3 points of access.
Correct.
Okay, for a council meeting. Okay, thank you.
Currently, board and advisory commission meetings are not recorded. They're created by individual staff. The exception is public hearings are recorded as needed. So this was my attempt to try to figure out if we were going to start recording board and commission meetings, what numbers of meetings are we looking at? The meetings above the line currently are the city council meetings and study session, which are recorded. Below the line are all the different boards and committees and meeting frequency. So some of them meet just once a month. There's a couple of them there that meet up to 2 times a month. So we're looking at anywhere from 156 to 192 meetings a year for these boards and committees. There's no current requirement that the city record audio or video. The Open Public Meetings Act encourages recordings. And if you do make a recording, you've got to keep it online for a minimum of 6 months. And then you retain that recording for 6 years, and then you transfer it to the state for permanent retention.
And so that particular RCW refers to governing bodies, not necessarily commissions, committees.
I believe it applies to both, and I'm sorry, that might not be the Open Public Meetings Act. It might be the Records Retention Law. But the DAN, the Disposition Authority Number, which comes from the Secretary of State's retention schedule, applies to advisory meetings and the governing board meetings. So,
For retention or the
right, you retain the recordings for 6 years and then send it to the archives for permanent retention. I believe that applies to both the advisory meetings and the governing executive meetings. Now that I'm on the spot, I would like to have it right in front of me to confirm.
we can get it later. It's all
Okay.
good.
Yeah, I'll confirm with you later, but that was my understanding.
So could I ask a follow-on question to that? So I don't want to get sidetracked because you probably covered elsewhere, but is there, if that is intended to be all inclusive, so to speak, is there a separate part of the RCW that differentiates the responsibilities of, say, the council versus one of its advisory groups? Because I don't imagine that the intent was to hold a citizen advisory committee to the same standard as an elected governing body. I just wondered if that appears somewhere else in the RCW. Or we can look at that later. I just wanted to.
Right, yeah, my understanding was the intent was if it's a board advising city council, that was what was triggering the retention. If it's important enough to make recommendations to city council, that was what was triggering the retention.
And can you clarify? So your first point there is there's no requirement that a public meeting must be audio or video recorded. Is the governing body required to record?
Sorry, I don't know the
Well-
answer off the top of my head.
They are, I believe they are, because council has been recorded, whether it's audio tapes or video that from many, many years ago. So audio tapes have been archived. But
But the requirement to record the meetings, because I can tell you with near certainty, 90% of the locally elected bodies that meet are not recording.
I mean,
Fair
the
districts,
county,
school
the
districts.
county commissioners don't record,
Yes,
do
they
they?
do.
They do.
They do.
yes, they do.
Okay, they just don't put it on TV like we do.
They, I believe, are televised to some extent.
I'm
Didn't
gonna phone a
notice.
friend here.
Good evening, Council. I'm Jim Gaben, the IT Director. It's my understanding that there is no requirement for the governing body to audio or video record. It must take minutes and retain those minutes. If, however, the governing body or advisory committee does record it, then it must be retained for 6 years.
Sense.
That is permanent retention, though. Or,
Yes.
yes.
I'm sorry, we
So
must
it's
retain it for
archivable.
6
You
years
retain it for
and
6
then it
years.
must go to the state for permanent archive.
So
Commissions are appraisal. They are appraised by the state audit or by the archives. But they are assessed whether they want to keep them or not.
So boards and commission may or may not be kept by archives after the 6 years. We keep them.
If we record them, they're
Yeah.
good.
And I would assume correct me if I'm wrong, there's no element of the RCW that says if the city council chooses to do like we're doing, video, audio, or all of that, that we have to maintain that standard throughout our board and commission system. I assume
Correct.
there's
It
no
does not have to be
requirement.
across the board.
It says in the core that audio-visual recordings and transcripts of proceedings for advisory body records are retained for 6 years and transferred to Washington State Archives for appraisal.
Okay, so the retention is separate from the decision whether to record them or not.
Correct.
That's what we're talking about. Okay.
So would that also apply to minutes that are kept I mean, with no recording, those have to be maintained as well as part of the record? Yeah, okay,
Same retention.
okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you all. So one of the considerations is if you have all this video, where are you going to store it? We've got videos uploaded to YouTube, and so far that's working fine. Obviously, the city doesn't control YouTube servers. So we also save the videos in Civic Clerk, as Beth outlined that process. And we have unlimited storage through Civic Clerk. If we ever moved away from Civic Clerk, we'd have to find another place to store all the video.
Why would we move from it?
I was gonna ask that as well.
I think that was more just if we have terabytes, hundreds of terabytes worth of video.
There's a
And
cost
Civic-
to- You have to contract with somebody to store it.
Store it, yep. Yeah, that wasn't a major
Oh.
consideration, just something to consider
But Civic Clerk takes care of that.
As part of the contract.
as part of the
As part of
contract,
the
unlimited
contract,
storage.
yeah.
Yep.
We already currently have.
So unlimited on your prior slide with Civic Clerk doesn't mean there's not more cost with more data. It's probably proportional, right? In other words, it's unlimited storage means you can have as much as you want if you pay for it, I assume. We're not getting a flat rate. Yeah.
We asked and Civic Clerk told us it's unlimited. Of course, that's not with us uploading 200 terabytes worth of data
Yeah.
for 6
Okay,
years.
so as far as we know, if it's a little or a lot, it's the same out of pocket, right?
Yeah.
Till they tell us it
And
isn't.
I would just remind you, remember, technology is always changing. And so
Oh,
we
yeah.
just moved to the Civic Clerk system
Yeah.
2.5, 3 years ago. And that allowed us to do the time stamping and the video. So we have better access to the meeting videos from our website. Technology could change. There could be better technology out there. So we could make an administrative decision to move to something better and different in the future too. So always thinking about the continuity of the content that we have and the ability to grab it and download it and continue to make it accessible. That's an ongoing challenge.
And how long is our contract with Civic Clerk?
is it 5 years, something like that? So yeah, and it typically will renew those, but again, sometimes 5, 10 years in, the technology has changed pretty significantly. There might be some other tried and true options out there too for doing, managing meetings.
Do we own we have all the ownership rights to the data, right? I mean, that we don't transfer anything to when we
Correct.
save it offsite on the cloud or wherever.
So the big wrinkle in all of this is the Department of Justice has come out with new Americans with Disability Act requirements for audio and video recordings. This will affect Ellensburg in April of 2027 because we're less than 49,999 persons. But bigger cities like King County, Seattle, and Spokane, they'll have to comply with these new requirements starting in 2026. So what does this apply to? It applies to everything on the web. This slide was put together by Nicole, so you may have seen it before, but it covers our website, apps, all the different postings we make on the internet.
So if we continue to upload our video and audio recordings of just say council meetings onto our website, then we would fall under this law in 2027, whatever that date was, based on the rules for how big we are. And everything after that date would be subject to, is it a quality piece? Is it what is it?
Yeah, and so that maybe is the next slide, but yeah, city council recordings will have to comply with all of this in 2027. Any other meetings that you start to record will also have to comply.
Would that be retroactive or is it just from that day forward?
That's a good question.
There's some forgiveness for retroactive. So if there's a point at which you can move forward with that.
So I bolded some of the more relevant portions to this meeting. One is descriptive text. And the way I understand it to be is there's text describing what's happening on the screen, even if there's no sound. So if I was needing tech support, the computer broke down and I'm just standing here silent while somebody's working on the computer, there would be text on the screen saying silently working on the computer or something describing the scene.
You see on it's captioning on TV a lot of times. So it's an AI generated.
Could be, yeah. It could be AI. They also, I believe, have human generated descriptions. And that's a little bit different than the next bolded bullet point, which is captions and transcripts, which is more of an attempt to type out what somebody's saying. So you've got the caption, which is typing out what somebody is saying, and then the descriptive text is describing the scene and this is for folks who can't see for themselves what's on the screen. The text, no, they can't. Well, anyway, it's additional descriptions for people who need it.
Do we currently have a format of AI that's capable of doing all these items?
The city does not contract with those companies. There are companies that provide it.
Right.
YouTube has something that's not perfect. And the companies that do a better job of it are out there. They just cost some money. One of the things in one of the later slides is we're hoping that maybe when the bigger cities are going through this, next year they can work through some of the bugs in the system, and maybe some additional tech companies will get into the field if they see that there's a need for it.
So I was thinking on your prior slide, you had some examples. The little green squiggly one is our transit app. And if I'm remembering, and that's kind of an off-the-shelf app, right? It's customized, but it's readily, anybody can get it and use it. So I would assume that the builders of the apps are having to reconfigure their apps to be compliant with the law first, right? And I don't know on the back end of that how much data retention there is. It's an app that people can pull up to figure out when the bus is going to be arriving, and so I don't know how that would work with retention of data exactly, other than whatever it might record. I don't know.
Yeah, I did not dive down that for this presentation, but that's a good point. And if there aren't any audio or video recordings on the app, maybe the requirements are a little bit less, but I would assume they would have to comply with ADA requirements as well.
I would think the product if they're marketing to everyone in the country, they're gonna have to comply with the law anyway. So by the time it gets to their users, it should be.
And I would just clarify too, that this applies to any web content that is linked to the city. And so our civic clerk system will have to comply, and it's about the accessibility. And so I wouldn't worry so much about the transitory records that someone would search on their
Right.
transit app, but it's about having the accessibility to the content, should they be hearing impaired, visually impaired, other access
Yeah.
points. So,
And
yeah.
I'm sure that's all built, that would have to be built into the app. We don't customize it to that degree. So.
So this slide is just, again, pointing out the big things to point out for recordings are the automated captions and the audio descriptions. This again is saying things may be changing in the coming years as bigger jurisdictions work through it. Maybe we'll get more cost-effective options, and hopefully we will, that can automate all of this better. One of the things we found in putting together this presentation is that the software to provide some of these captioning is sold in blocks of hours. And so this slide is an attempt to figure out, well, how many hours are we talking about for recording meetings? So this 13 to 16 commission meetings, if we estimated that they're 90 minutes long on average, you get somewhere between 1,100 and 1,400 minutes. You have city council meetings plus a study session, so maybe a total meeting time of 1,500 to 1,700 meeting minutes a month. So when we're talking about options for who provides this service, Nicole found this live captioning company, which provides a person to provide the live captioning as opposed to a computer. They charge anywhere from 100 to 250 an hour. If you went with an AI solution, you buy those in blocks. So at the bottom, I bolded some text, which was an attempt to, if we had the meeting minutes from the previous slide plus the pricing on this slide, what does that total look like? And it's anywhere from 25 to 100 to 13,000 a month. So that was for live captioning. This is for the audio description. The company VidiScribe sells blocks of minutes. 500 minutes is 900 a month. 2,000 minutes is 3,200 a month. So rough estimate was anywhere from 2,700 to 3,200 a month.
So this is transcribing audio into some written form, someone who is hearing impaired, right?
This is the brief descriptive phrases describing what's on the screen.
I assume it's not multilingual. You'd have to select your language of choice or languages.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, presumably it would, if like you have a human typing it out, it would be in one language. Maybe AI could automate it better into multiple languages. That's a good question.
So again, if we go back to the sort of the foundational element that it is a choice by local government right now to record video and audio of the meetings that we do, and obviously the meetings that we don't. A lot of these costs could be mitigated by making audio only recordings, because if you're not recording the video, you don't have to describe what's going on the screen.
Yeah.
I believe that there will be ADA requirements for audio as well.
Yeah, I would figure like you can't discriminate against a visual impaired for just, or I'm sorry, audio impaired for just visual or vice versa, what I'm saying. Sorry.
If it's on the web, there's going to be a requirement for making it accessible.
Yeah, so if you have it online, it has to be available for those that are audio impaired or visual impaired. So you got to have both. So it's a decision.
So that means no
Well,
audio
no,
recording?
no. I mean, you get the choice whether you do audio or visual or both right now. But whether the law makes you change is a separate conversation, is a separate interpretation that we'll have to get.
Yeah, I did not look at if you went to audio only, what are the requirements
have
for
to do
audio
anything.
only? If that's the question.
To Luana's point, I don't know that an audio only recording would comply with the ADA's intent, because if you were
But
visually
they allow you
impaired-
to do none.
I know, but if you do something, it has to comply, I assume,
Correct.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
Will you
that's what I was
just write that down as a potential pathway here? Okay,
Yeah.
keep going.
Are you speaking for the boards and commissions?
No, I'm
Just-
talking, it doesn't, it's irrespective. I'm just saying that it seems a lot of the cost is driven by the video, having to describe the video. And if nobody can see the video, you are not discriminating against anybody because nobody can see it.
I get where you're going at.
So anyway, we'll get a distinction.
Yeah, that's an 88 thing that,
I think
yeah.
it's straight up video.
So another consideration is if you're recording meetings, what are the staff time requirements and what are the software licenses? We tried to think through what's involved with recording a meeting. There's some element of setting up the microphones and the video cameras. Would that be 15 to 30 minutes a meeting? During the meeting, someone would need to be monitoring the recording software to make sure it's working correctly and the transcripts are the captioning is show up accurately if we're doing live captioning. And that could be from 30 to 60 minutes a meeting, or if the meeting was 90 minutes up to 90 minutes. Yeah, 90 minutes. And then after the meeting, there's going to be some processing of the video to make sure that the captioning and the video are in sync and they get uploaded correctly. And so there's after meeting processing anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. Some questions are which staff would be responsible for it? Would be at the clerk of the board and commission meeting since they're already there. Is that burdening them if they're trying to run a meeting and then also run the video software? Would overtime need to be paid if staff are staying late for the boards and commissions that meet in the evenings? IT, if we went that route, IT would train staff on how to work all the software, which is doable, just a consideration. I already mentioned the Zoom licensing, that the free version has less functionality than the paid version. One consideration is just meeting space. This room has the camera and the audios. Would we have all boards and commissions meet in this room? Would we need to equip the council conference room as well with cameras and audio?
I guess following up on that too, if we had a policy that we record the meetings and technology fails, do you cancel the meeting? You have to have backup.
Redundancies, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And maybe that could be solved by policy that all attempts will be made to record, but in the event of a technological failure, the meeting will still go on and we'll do our best to record. But yeah, no, that's a good question.
Yeah, I'm sure ADA is gonna like that.
Yeah, well, I was thinking like if the intent was to not create a video record, but you had an audio recording, right? For those hearing impaired, they would have to have, I don't know if Braille is an acceptable mitigation for that, but it's the only way that I'm aware of for a sightless person to be able to get a tactile impression of what is a transcript, if you will. So,
Sightless can hear it.
well, but if they could hear it, I guess, well, I've got it backwards. I just think it's the video piece. I guess what I was wondering is
Caption.
if you were, yeah, to Rich's point, if you were omitting the video portion and you only had the audio, but you had someone who could not, was auditory or impacted or something, could not, unable to hear that, then you could create, I presume you could create a transcript from the audio. You could use it, and we use them now to some extent, an AI generated transcript. We get meeting minutes that are sort of not verbatim minutes, but you could, in theory, it wouldn't probably be perfect, as good as the technology could be, but you would not, you'd have an audio record and you'd have a written record to satisfy those who are hearing impaired.
And I can't remember what the standards will be for audio only recording. I thought when I looked, there was a standard and I just don't remember off the top of my
Yeah.
head what
Yeah, I
it
was getting
was.
tripped up over the audio and video, but it seems like there's going to be some requirement for those who are unable to capture the information through hearing.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the policy considerations if you're saying audio only, video and audio, or what level of recording you provide.
Well, I was thinking too, and from the staff requirement, I don't know. I mean, if there's a, in lieu of, think of it just the way we staff our board and commission meetings now, we get not verbatim minutes, but we get sort of primary notes and things. If we had effectively a transcript, AI generated transcript, there would be, and there was no time spent by staff to go back and check it or polish it or correct it. And just we had it as a record of the meeting, it could sit there and somebody could listen or, could read it.
Yeah, I think that gets to the quality of the AI software, like YouTube's probably is too many errors to be sufficient.
Maybe it hasn't been tested yet legally. I don't know. What's the threshold of accuracy required? Okay, but I was just trying to think around the staffing issue too.
So just, am I looking at this right? Just upgrading our Zoom license so that it's, you can mute people, you can control outside commenting better is 690 per year.
Per license, correct. I think we have 3 licenses currently, like one for IT, one for Nicole, the public information officer. If we were going to have all the different clerks of the boards and commissions run the meeting, they'd need their own license at 690 a year. So that was more an information point on how would we want this to work, which staff would be tasked with this.
I just, what is our big goal here? And the big goal is to potentially provide more accessibility to our constituents for the board and commission meetings, rather than having to come in person to a meeting. The request, as I recall, was people wanted to be able to Zoom in to a meeting or pick it up at a later date. So perhaps a compromise is it's not going to be on our website for you to see 5 years from now what the Environmental Commission did at such and such a meeting, but but if you couldn't make it to the meeting, you could Zoom it. And
If we recorded, we'd have.
but
to
if
go
we
through-
record,
You have to maintain it
route, yeah.
on the
but if
website
it's
for at
if
least
it's
6
Zoom, you don't have to record it, right? I mean, it's
You're
just
talking about live streaming.
It's just live.
But if it's going to be there 5 years later, it has to be recorded, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying
Just
the
live.
compromise is we just do live feed
We
and
don't.
not have it 5 years later.
So, and that's what we do now for our boards and commissions. And so we offer remote access to those meetings. We don't
Oh, that's right.
record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
So,
that would
but
be
we
the
don't-
status quo essentially.
we don't need the upgraded license though for what we're doing now.
Not typically. No, we can control some of the aspects, but when you start engaging people and you're actually recording it, you want the Zoom controls with the upgraded licenses.
So landmarks and
And
design planning commission do public
Here, that they get.
those are
Yes.
captured. Sorry.
And one of the requirements for the software licenses, or a reason you'd need the software licenses, is if you want virtual participation. If you just want the public to see and hear the meetings, we wouldn't need the increased licenses because somebody wouldn't have to manage public participation.
So for the limited number of meetings we have each year for planning commission or landmarks and design where they're actually in public hearing mode where they have to record, right? That's Zoom, I think, right?
It is, and my understanding is they don't allow virtual public participation.
So-
It's just
So
stream.
they don't need a license for that.
Correct.
Okay, I was trying to figure out who was holding that license. Okay,
I'm sorry, they do need a license, but it's the free license.
the free
They don't need
license.
the paid license.
Okay,
You just need the paid license if you're managing the
That
participants in the meeting.
690 a year per is for
Yes, so
during testimony.
for 13 staff managing the boards and commission meetings, that would be 9,000 a year, roughly.
And so just to give me, some of the boards and commissions are staffed by people who are union employees.
That's correct.
So the question of whether they're paid overtime is a moot point. They are paid overtime. If they're outside their scheduled hours, they are paid overtime, period.
I think part of the overtime question was if you're having IT staff present at all of the meetings,
Yeah.
after hours would be overtime.
And has that been captured in that rough estimate of?
The
ballpark
staff
cost?
time was the generic staff salary just for
Just
estimation
straight up
purposes.
hours, right?
And for one person.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, just over the years, it's sometimes I mean, the staff work that allows the board and commission meetings to be scheduled is it's a process unto itself. Try to find space. This room is usually not available I've got several committees that I've sat on that don't meet here because it's not available. And the conference room is one place, but other offices sometimes too. So I think, the idea would be we'd have to upgrade technology in each location to replicate what we've got here if we went that way.
Well, not only that, you have to provide for the people who want to show up, and that's not really
Yeah,
practical in
that's
that
a
room.
good point.
So
Yeah,
it has to be a room that you can actually get people here.
yeah. Well,
And one of the options for us is to use a system like this OWL, but the problem with that is it's not accurate. Like Chris mentioned, sometimes, and if you look back at our recordings, you'll see it. Sometimes it'll just go to the blank wall. So it won't be showing anything that's happening, even though people are talking.
What is our liability with that accuracy? Because that's my concern as far as the OWL camera and then even transcribing either AI generated or person captures or anything like that. What is our liability as far as ensuring that captioning is correcting? Because my concern is the FTE associated with ensuring that all the captionings for all those meetings are correct before they are published.
Right, it's an ADA requirement, and so I would assume, my understanding is it's ADA liability.
So that's an inherent, it's almost like we're gonna have to deal with that cost, period.
And it's at what scope?
The scale of the scope is what we can control. Understood.
So
Okay.
for the terabytes of video that's stored somewhere in a cloud, right? That's all subject to public records request too, correct?
Correct.
Which isn't the ordinary, somebody in public can go online and pull a meeting from 5 years ago kind of thing. That's staff time, I assume, to access. It's restricted. I mean, protected anyway.
The cost for video storage up there is optional. That's if we had to store it here locally, or if we moved away from Civic Plus
Mhm.
and had to download everything and store it. But because we're using Civic Plus and our storage limit is unlimited, we can store all videos on Civic Plus, and that helps us with public records requests because the public has direct access to those
I would
videos.
just send them a link to the proper channel or whatever. We don't have to go search.
Right.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
That just seems like another liability too. So we have a third party that has control over the records that we are required by law to keep.
They have civic in the name, so they're good.
And plus, but I'm just,
It is part of the decision matrix that we went through too, as we looked at different software, and there are trade-offs about cloud versus on-premise. And so we actually chose to go with the cloud, and we have the ability to download. So yes, we're always trying to manage and measure the risks associated with decisions.
Yeah, our requirement is that we're gonna have to do some ADA compliance, but we control the scalability as far as how much we're complying based upon what we decide needs to be audio and video recorded.
So a question I had on the bottom estimate, rough estimate, ADA compliance, is that all in? So in other words, well, let me just say, I don't know, would you say that we're fully in compliance for council? on the ADA requirement for council recordings and so on?
Not currently. I
Okay.
think you'd need a better live captioning and audio description in twenty
So I
twenty-seven.
guess my real question was, is the 100 to 330,000, does it include, is that the rough estimate for all the boards and commissions as you've outlined, plus getting the council up to snuff?
Correct. If it was just council, I believe that would be a lot smaller.
So if we didn't go the video recording route, we could ratchet that back quite a lot for the boards and commissions.
I believe so, with the caveat, these are rough estimates based on our research.
So think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but if you're not recording them and just presenting them live, we still have the requirement of closed captioning and video descriptions during that live streaming.
Right. Is that being handled now?
No, it's not a
Anyway.
requirement at this time, not until April.
2027.
So
2027.
YouTube isn't even as part of their,
They are, closed
Calculate.
captioning is available with YouTube, but it's very,
Zoom
it's
is
not accurate.
right, but they end up on YouTube. So I don't know if they convert at some point. Yeah.
It's the fact that somebody's gonna have to go and verify all three platforms, both the cable, the Zoom, and YouTube are all correct.
We currently have staff doing that for some of the video production.
So our ECTV contract is pretty limited in what they do, focused on production. They're not positioned to pick up a lot of these tasks, I assume.
Correct. Our contract with them is for just the council meetings and study sessions.
And
So that's what that
yeah,
second to the bottom line is. If we were to contract for them to do all recordings, that would be 36 to 48,000 more. per-
and I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking about the say adding closed captioning. That's not something they would typically do.
No,
right?
they would not.
Or generate a transcript from an audio recording.
So what are other public agencies doing? Nicole just did a random survey throughout the state of Washington with some big, middle and small cities. It's just kind of runs the gamut from recording everything, posting online, to one of them just does audio recording only. So for whatever that's worth, that's what we were seeing across
So
the
just a
state.
quick question there, then like Tequila would be the perfect comparative for us in terms of population size, right? We're right there at the same population and they're doing their commission meetings with audio only. So
Correct.
there's already somebody out there doing that. And the cost of going to audio only, I think we all can agree is significantly cheaper than the hurdles we have to go through with video.
Currently, and then in 2027, the ADA updates kick in, and I'm not quite sure what that means for the audio only meeting.
Mm.
So currently, that, I agree with that.
Okay, do we know when we'll get more information on what would be required for 27?
Yeah,
That now?
yeah, I made the note, I can follow up with what are the requirements if you went an audio only route, and what
Okay.
might that look like?
And I'll just point out too, the east side of the state is council. The west side of the state mixes in the other. If you look at that list.
So which of these cities are currently having to comply with ADA?
I don't think any of them do. The first would be Seattle in 2026. is my
Okay, so
understanding.
next year.
Correct.
Okay, so this isn't reflective of what they're going to do in 20, when they have to comply.
Correct.
Right, it's just what it is today.
And with that, that was my last slide.
Can you go back to that slide? So this is your last slide? Just want to stay here for a second.
And can you talk about what Kittitas County does?
Yeah, off the top of my head, Kittitas County, I think streams commissioner meetings. I think those are available online, but I don't think any of the others are.
And I can
Maybe-
speak
maybe Jim knows better.
reasonably definitively for the junior taxing districts that they're not doing any of this. And they have budgets in excess of 7 figures.
So I'm sorry. So the ADA, the requirements are focusing on population. So these taxing districts, are they subject to the same rules?
Yeah, I think everybody would be. I don't know. I didn't look for specifically for taxing districts.
Population in the district? I was just wondering, so it's a,
KVFR has a bigger population than we do, and they don't record anything.
so they're gonna get hit in 2026 possibly because they're bigger?
No, they don't have to record it.
They're not
The decision to record is our decision. What you do with the
They don't
recordings,
do anything.
if you don't do anything, the ADA stuff doesn't apply.
We've been focused on what cities are doing because we know that that compliance period is coming fairly quickly. In your budget for 2026, I believe, we actually looked at reserving some dollars to help us do some studies on how we comply, how we can meet that compliance and do an analysis on all of our third party because we need to make sure our third party vendors are moving toward compliance as well. So this is a pretty big deal. And if you recall that this discussion came about, we've been talking about accessibility and transparency in local government and the tools that we have. And one of the questions was, what if, can we provide more transparency and accessibility to our board and commission meetings too? So just a reminder that there is a cost to all of this. There's a cost to managing all those meetings, and then there's a cost to recording those as well. So it's that balancing act and trying to decide which is, which is more important. Yes, it'd be great to have absolutely everything available online, but there's a cost associated with that. So this, if you have additional questions or discussions, and if you'd like to see more or like us to move in a particular direction, exploring this, we're open to your guidance on this.
We're okay to direct staff to bring back more information. We are not okay to make a decision about what we're going to do.
Sure.
I'd agree.
It's a study session.
Yeah. I would just say that from a price point perspective, it seems like there are three different options here: the audio only, the full scale, everything. And then there seems to be, I would almost call it minimum, which would be ADA compliance. And so those are the three, I believe, are the three different levels of this that I would be interested in.
Yeah.
I would like to have information from the cities that are recording their boards and commission meetings and the effectiveness of that and how that's been received by volunteers who sign up for those boards and commissions, and whether or not it's had any impact on the ability to recruit volunteers for boards and commissions.
So you want a contrast between if they record versus not record and sort of what that did to their participation in the meetings, not.
Well, I think that's one of the things we should consider along with the cost and the other decisions is there going to be a negative impact on people who volunteer for boards and commissions because they don't want to be on camera and they don't want to be recorded?
And I guess I guess it's all how we word it. I'm not sure the ADA, that once you're into the ADA, that a technology failure is necessarily going to be forgiven. So if we go down this route and you have a technology failure, prevents you from doing the things that you're required to do by ADA, I think you have to stop the meeting.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question from a liability standpoint. What happens when technology fails us? And it has.
Well, I don't know. It would be an interesting read, a legal read, because I know, for example, well, a couple of things. ADA standards are evolving constantly, right? So we deal with it with our curb cuts. And we've got over the years, we've had lots of curb cuts that were built for ADA compliance that became non-compliant because the standards changed. But we weren't, thrown in ADA jail immediately because we had a lot of non-compliant curb cuts, right? There's a process involved. I don't know, for something like this, there may be a different.
Everything
Score.
moving forward versus retroactively applying a rule.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's how the the action practice, I guess. Sure.
Anything else, either staff or any other discussion? I guess moving forward, we've got a window of approximately 18, 19, 20 months before things potentially get significantly more complicated and expensive. So from a council perspective, maybe, let this sort of percolate for a little while and maybe we bring this back and have a conversation in December or January about any direction we want to take now and what direction we want to do to give to give staff to set us up for 2027 compliance.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think,
That's
yeah,
reasonable things.
I think so. If it's looking like we're going to have to do some specific things in 27, I think we need to give staff plenty of time to roll that out. So that's not a month or two in advance. That's probably a year in advance.
Yeah, I'm interested in finding out what that compliance looks like because quite frankly, some of this might be answered by whatever the compliance requirements are.
Yeah, and I guess minimally, I would like to maintain what we're doing with the city council in terms of the audio video. It doesn't necessarily have to be in 3 places. To Delano's point about making sure that everything's correct in all of those places, but so we are going to have to explore the technology or whatever it is to do the closed captioning and to do the descriptions for council meetings. And just putting boards and commissions to the side for now. We need to explore that to maintain what we have.
So, and again, to be clear, we can't make a decision tonight to change what we're doing,
No.
either with boards and commissions or the council.
Right.
So bringing it back in December, January,
Yep.
they've had time to get some information, is that?
Say the first of the year, of the year.
Liability, Chris, I want to know liability.
All righty.
Yeah.
My favorite word.
Can you send these slides out to all of us?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to adjourn and reconvene at 1900 hours for the regular council meeting.
Thank you, Chris. And thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.